Come be a part of Doc Holliday's Rock Splitting Politics with your host, Dr. Ed Holliday. Hear the voices of liberty speaking all across America. Doc Holliday provides thought-provoking interviews and commentary about the issues and actions that are afflicting this country and what we need to do to get America back on track. Get fired up, get inspired, get on board with Doc Holliday's Rock Splitting Politics right now.
And here we go.
And once again, that's the sound of rock cracking. You've got Doc Holliday's Rock Splitting Politics. I'm your host, Dr. Ed Holliday, and you're listening to us on webtalkradio.net. That's webtalkradio.net. Glad to have you. And wow, we got an exciting show today. It is more. We're going to dive a little more into the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency world. We're going to dip our toes in. Last month we had Brock Pierce on telling us some about Bitcoin and blockchain technology. We're going to go a tad bit deeper, not real deep, but a little bit deeper for you to have a better grasp on what is happening and what our future looks like with cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin. We got Dr. James Stroud coming on. He has invented a cryptocurrency himself. He helped fabricate it. So we got him coming on to teach us a little more. Before we do that, last week, the Academy Awards, the lowest ratings ever, but there's one actor that we've had on here on Doc Holliday's Rock Splitting Politics. He voted for Donald J. Trump. He's a Trump fan, and in this cancel culture, nobody can cancel him out. He was on Greg Kelly's show on Newsmax, and let you just play this couple-minute clip with Academy Award-winning actor Jon Voight. He starts the interview talking about his friend Donald J. Trump as president.
The way he handled himself with all of the so-called villains of the world, and there's some dangerous people out there, of course. He was able to get relationships with each of these guys, and they had great respect for him. And of course, he dealt with the villainy of Iran in a very specific way, and now we're returning Iran to the position of getting a nuclear weapon. This is a horror, and there are many things that are happening right now that we have to put up a fight against because, for instance, our economy, the way they're throwing money around, eventually. This will break us down.
Last thing, sir, your legacy is secure. You're a Hollywood great. You don't have to do anything ever again to be a historical figure in Hollywood. But I'm curious, have you taken a hit in terms of opportunities because you're a vocal Trump supporter? I mean, the cancel culture, we hear about it every day. What has been the backlash for you in Hollywood?
Well, Greg, look, people hire their buddies. And I'm in a situation where I still have a few friends in Hollywood, but it's difficult for people who announce they're conservative. Yes, for sure, but that has to be now. We have to make a stand. You have to state who you are. You can't be afraid. You can't cower for this thing because it hurts a lot of people coming up. You have to make a little bit of a stand here now. Not a little bit. I say these words. I say a little bit of a stand, but you got to stand up against this stuff. It's not right, And it's really what I feel is, look, I'm an older fella, and I'm not going to be around forever. And if I can do something to help the future generations yet unborn to taste the American dream and to have the freedoms that were fought for and bled for over time that I received as a young man coming up. If I can do anything toward that, I'm going to do it. So that's much more important to me than any of this other small political stuff. I mean, politics of the small politics. The big politics, sure. I'm in.
And Jon Voight has been in. He has not backed down. and standing strong on his conservative roots and being a Donald Trump supporter. Now, let's get to the cryptocurrency and Bitcoin expert we have on today, Dr. James Stroud. James, welcome to Doc Holliday's Rock Splitting Politics.
Thank you, Doc, for having me on. I'm honored to be here.
Well, I know our listeners, we got many stages in the cryptocurrency understanding, and many still are a little bit scared, and they don't even know what Bitcoin. They've heard the term Bitcoin, heard the term cryptocurrencies, and for the longest they thought it was just a fad because they heard people like Warren Buffett and others say, well, Bitcoin's going to zero. So what's your outlook of the future now when you see these blockchain technologies that are wrapping around the term Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies?
Well, for the future, I think it's only going to grow. I mean, in the near, if you want to get down to the nitty gritty of where I think the markets are going to be, I think they're going to go up, and of course at some point they're going to turn around and go down, and it's hard to know exactly where we are in that cycle. But in terms of the technology itself, it's only going to grow and become more pervasive, even to the point to where Bitcoin may not be, it's not, lose its dominance as the top currency. It will be just one among many, and not even have a majority of the total, what they call market cap. And so other technologies besides Bitcoin that are blockchain technologies will begin to have a lot of prominence in addition to Bitcoin. Even if Bitcoin itself might lose prominence so much that another coin, like say Ethereum, that does a lot of things differently from Bitcoin, that one might become the most prominent. I don't know this for sure, but that's what I see as the outlook. Is because blockchain becomes more pervasive in our lives and is used in ways we probably, we don't know it's being used. As that process happens, I believe more and more blockchains may displace Bitcoin. Right now, just to kind of clarify what Bitcoin's place is.
I'd like to explain that.
And this whole thing is Bitcoin right now it started out as the idea was to be peer-to-peer cash. And so, and it served that function pretty well. And all that means is that, I have some Bitcoin on my computer or phone, and I can send you some Bitcoin to your computer or phone, and you can send it to somebody else. Mm-hmm. It's a really simple concept, but actually it's difficult to implement that because we have to get everybody's phones agreeing on how much Bitcoin I have and how much Bitcoin you have, and make sure that nobody can spend it twice. That type of thing works just like cash. And nowadays, what's happened now is Bitcoin fees are they're north of $25 today. I think I sent some Bitcoin yesterday because I'm in this. I do it all the time, and it cost me $26 just to send it. So when you sometimes when you send to a new place, you do a test, and so you might send $20 of Bitcoin to test it, the sending, and you'll pay a $26 fee, which is pretty amazing. Yeah. I mean, it's high for a cryptocurrency.
So that's what scares me. I'm just going to say for audience sake, I know that what you're saying there, it keeps some people from saying I don't even understand it if the fee to send something is higher. And of course I know what you're talking about, a lot of people will use Bitcoin and be sending, they got to do a little test to make sure they don't send a lot of money if they're not sure where it's going. But that very part is what sometimes it scares people from getting into Bitcoin. But go ahead. I want you to finish up your thought right there about the fees.
Yeah, sure. So, that shouldn't scare people away from cryptocurrencies. That's just a natural supply and demand thing for Bitcoin itself. But what it does is is it does two things. It changes the narrative of what Bitcoin is. So Bitcoin now, the people who are really proponents for Bitcoin itself say it's a store of value, and that's what it's looked at these days as, and that's why it's still attracting people's money. They want to buy it so it holds its value. They don't intend on sending it around too much. So sort of functioning like gold.
Right.
But other cryptocurrencies now can send with no. There's one out there that at least that you can send with no fees, and many where you can send with really small fees. So what's happening is this sort of division of purposes inside cryptocurrency technology, where Bitcoin is now like a store of value, the gold type analog of cryptocurrency, and then you have all these others that are cash analogs. And that's just the first tier of technology. There's a lot of technologies like Ethereum that's what is called a smart contract technology. So if people were having trouble understanding Bitcoin as cash, smart contracts takes it to a whole new level.
Right.
But I can stop there if you have any questions before I dive too deeply into those weeds.
Yeah, let me just for the sake of the audience that and I know I'd love to talk to you more about smart contracts and how they affect, but I won't I don't want to go deep into the weeds right now because I know some of the questions some people are asking me. You look at what's going on just in this past week, and I know you've been dealing with these coins for a long time, and later I want to talk more about your the stealth coin that you have and what it does compared to the others. But let's take a look at, they always talk about, an Elon Musk and the I guess celebrities, and they talk about DOGE coin, and it was made as a joke, and now it's number 6. And it's got like a $40 billion market cap, and it was made as a joke early on.
Yeah.
So how does that? I mean, it has a big community on the internet, but it has no special. The coin has no special technologies. It doesn't have anything that so many coins have. So how does it propel to $40 billion market cap? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, Doge is a very special coin, and I know it has this reputation of starting as a joke. But that is a long time ago, and I've always had some Doge here and there. I have to admit I had some, and I sold it on this recent spike because that is a high market cap, $40 billion. Right. But, I'll probably buy some back later when it comes back down. But the thing with Doge is it is special. It does have a special technology that people often overlook.
Okay.
And I touched on it earlier. So Bitcoin has it has a propensity to have these very high fees because of how it was designed. It wasn't designed to hold a lot of transactions. And there's been this movement in the Bitcoin community to keep the number of transactions it can handle low. So that lowers the supply of transactions that you can do. And what that does is it raises the price of the fees.
Right.
So it's supply and demand right there with Bitcoin. Doge was created. The guy was not probably thinking, and he made it have Doge have 10 times as much capacity as Bitcoin. Just he didn't even think about it too much, or maybe he did. And Doge has always had those low fees because of that. I mean, it's had really low fees. And then what he did is he made it 10 times as fast as Bitcoin. You can set all this up right when you make the coin. So he made it 10 times more supply of transactions and 10 times as fast. And so what happened is Doge actually filled a market niche that Bitcoin never had. And so when Doge goes up, what it's doing is the price is actually rising up to Doge's potential. when it goes to 40 billion and there doesn't feel like there's a lot of justification, it has surpassed that potential in price. But that happens in all kinds of assets. Every single asset, we have a housing bubble and it comes back down. We have an oil bubble, it comes back down. All assets shoot up past what there should be their market price and come back down. That's just a price discovery feature of markets. But this narrative where Dogecoin is, was a joke and it shouldn't have a high cap. In my opinion, I've always thought Doge, that's why I always buy it when I think it goes below a particular price that should be its market price, is that Doge is actually very a special currency because of how it was designed, even if it was designed on accident to have these properties. And one thing I noticed, as long as...
Well, hold that one thing. Our listeners are going to want to hear what that one thing is that you're going to tell us about Dogecoin. But let me remind our listeners, we're talking to Dr. James Stroud. He's put together his own cryptocurrency called Stealth, and we're going to hear more about that in the second half of the show. But I want to remind everybody that you're listening to Doc Holliday's Rock Splitting Politics. You're listening to us right here on webtalkradio.net. That's webtalkradio.net. Glad to have you. We do have a book called Bedrock Truths. You can get that book by going to www.dochholliday.org. Holiday with 2 L's. We'd love to get that book out to you. But now let's let Dr. James Stroud complete his thought about this one thing about Dogecoin. Go ahead, Dr. Stroud.
It's working on 5 or 6 years ago. There used to be these small coins that people were very speculative coins, and these markets around these coins, they didn't have exchanges, and I called these markets microeconomies. What would happen is you would want to buy some of these coins off the market. This is called an over-the-counter sale, and there would be people, say, in Pakistan or India, and they would be using Dogecoin in order to, as the currency to trade another cryptocurrency in. So Doge had this special set of properties that made people want to use it for what it was designed for. And when I saw that happening, I used to buy up Dogecoin, and on this recent spike, that worked out well for me.
I want to know more about you. You started your own coin, or help tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. Back in 2014, what I did is I quickly I was like anybody else who was new to an asset. I quickly lost all the money I set aside to trade. So this is not. I was working at a university, and I had a few $1,000s, and I put it in, and it was at the top, and it all went down. But that got me into it, and so what I wanted to do is to try to accumulate, Bitcoin over time. So I didn't have any more cash to put into it. So I started working. I knew how to program from my job and experience. So I started working on coins, helping out. There's all these projects launching, and all I would do is try to do a job or something to get a little coin so I could have some, because I didn't have anything to trade, because I lost it all trading badly as a new trader, which happens to people. But in that, I learned about the coins, and it was real quick, and I was like, I want to have my own coin. So I decided that privacy was a really important aspect of cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin, on the Bitcoin blockchain, you can do what's called, institutions, people can do it too, but mostly institutions like the government can do what's called blockchain forensics and figure out who is sending money to whom with pretty good certainty. And I thought that was kind of a property of blockchains that people were not going to value over time, and what they would value is privacy. So I started Stealth Coin. It's in the name. Stealth kind of means it's hidden and secret. That's what privacy is. It's the secrecy you keep from people. You don't open all your windows and let them see everything you do in your house. You may not want to let them see everything you do with your money. You may not care if the government sees it, but you don't want bad guys to see it, and so forth. or you might care if the government sees it. A lot of people feel strongly about that as well. So yeah, that's why I started Stealth, and I started with a different coin. I put my own properties in, and we've been working on that coin for a long time. It hasn't had the success of DOGE, but I'm still committed to that project, and I'm still turning it into the vision and what we've done recently. And it's pretty soon it's going to go live on what's mainnet. It'll be work on mainnet as we've increased the capacity over Bitcoin 120 times. And so there's 120 times more transaction space, and there's 120 times faster. So this is, and I recently put into where a type of technology where you don't have any fees. They call that feeless. And so that's where we are on that project, and we're still trying to get privacy. It's a very difficult thing to do, but we want to work that out just right, and that's coming up in the works as well.
Well, now, when you try to get privacy, does that mean you have to work with governments?
Oh, no. Privacy is what's known as a cryptographic technology. Privacy can be achieved. This is highly technical, so I'm going to try to tiptoe around that. But what privacy can be achieved through math on the blockchain, and the bottom line of it, without digging into the technology, which can just go crazy, is you can hide who's sending it, who's receiving it, and how much the transaction is simply by the way you create the transactions on the blockchain. So you can use math to hide the transactions, and when the person receives it and everybody else verifies that you own that money, you didn't spend it twice, the right person got it, the right amount was set. When everybody verifies that, they can do math to verify that without actually knowing what they're verifying. And this sounds like magic, but it's just mathematics that's been worked out for a while. The really tough part is to do that in a way that's efficient enough that it works on a blockchain. But it does, and there's several projects out there that can do this so far. It's just that it's not as efficient as a traditional transaction because there's so much math, and the math turns into computer time spent constructing the transaction and verifying it. But what we hope to achieve is to have the very fastest blockchain that has that privacy in it. But to answer your question directly, the whole point is not to work with governments, to not work with anybody in order to hide those things, the sender, the receiver, and how much the transaction was.
Well, when you say there are others, what makes yours different from what's out there now?
The big difference is and why we haven't completely finished with the private technology, the privacy technology is the transaction speed. So you imagine you want to have a transaction that's private, but you want it to get there in a couple of seconds. You want the other person to be able to spend that money in a couple of seconds. You know, like when you use a credit card, you go and you put your credit card in the slot, and 10 seconds later, it says remove your card, and you spent that money. Right. Well, traditional private coins, it's going to be 10 minutes before that happens. So that's not really usable, as what we call point to sale as real cash. It's kind of usable for like 10 minutes. That's pretty fast, but that's going to be bigger purchases. That's going to be, $100 or $200. That's not going to allow you to buy something small and still prevent others from seeing how you're spending your money. With what we're designing here, it's going to be a matter of seconds, 5 seconds, and your transaction can still be private. So that's what separates Stealth from those other projects, because none of them offer that level of speed.
Coin's called Harmony, and they're supposed to do everything in 2 seconds. They don't do it stealth, I take it, like yours is stealth. So, have you heard of Harmony or some of the others that have these fast speeds?
Yeah, there are a lot of projects that have recognized very fast transactions. The earliest one I know, well, DOGE is very fast, but it's a minute. Apparently, that's not fast enough. It actually isn't. 1 minute is not fast enough. You don't want to wait for a whole minute when you do a credit card transaction these days. If you're buying, coffee or gas, you don't want to stand there for a whole minute waiting for that thing to say there, how it says validating and then remove your card.
Right.
So the earliest one I know of is Nano, and I'm a big Nano fan because when I saw that property, it has a less than a second.
Yeah.
We'll call it millisecond. The one you mentioned, to be frank, I've never heard of that one before. There are a lot of coins, but 2 seconds is, that sounds right. But I would know about it if it was a privacy coin, because these quickly, anybody who's offering fast transactions with privacy, I would know about it by now. But that does sound about right. Harmony and Harmony may do some other things. I'll have to look into that one. I mean, I'm glad you told me about that. I always love investigating new cryptocurrencies.
Well, that's just one that, and we looked into some just because there's so many out there. But I know it was talking about how fast it was and how easy is it to even get your coin. I know people have trouble, exchanges, or is it on an exchange easy to get to, or is it? How would somebody, if they wanted to get your coin, how would they go about doing that?
Oh, well, it's on a U.S. exchange. That's our biggest exchange. We've been with them since we launched, and it was almost since when they launched. And that one's called Bittrex, Bittrex, and their site is just bittrex.com. And we have a market there, and it's a Bitcoin trading pair. So what you can do, so they have $1 markets over there, but you can actually fund your Bittrex account with a debit card these days. Of course, I'm not saying to go buy any stealth. I could get in trouble suggesting.
No, and I can tell our listeners we are not giving any kind of financial advice. We're just talking. I'm just talking about. I know some coins are so hard to get a hold of, and even trying to explain how to get a hold of. So I was asking if it was on an exchange, but you just told us that Bittrex, and it is an exchange that's out there, has been around a long time. So that's really what I wanted to know. Yeah, I'm not. We're not making any financial. Anything to do with anybody's finances. Everybody got to do that themselves. But I just want people to understand what's out there.
Sure, yeah. So you can buy it on Bittrex, and it's pretty easy the way Bittrex has it set up. And the market is there's plenty on the sell side, so you probably wouldn't move it up too much if you were to buy it. I don't know exactly what the market looks like today. It's a smaller coin. It's a thin market. What that means is if you want to sell a bunch, you're going to move the price down. If you want to buy a bunch, you're going to move the price up. And that's just a function of being a smaller coin. We're trying to fix the whole smaller coin thing by moving the market cap up, by adding features to the coin. But that may or may not work out. It may go the opposite way. But that's what we're trying to do. If one of these days, my feeling is one of these days that the market may wake up to it, and our market cap will get higher, and that will provide that's not only good for people who already hold it, but it's good for the coin because it provides lots of coins on the buy side and lots of coins on the sell side. It makes a healthier market, and it makes it a more usable coin. So that's the main thing about a big coin versus small coins. The big coins are more useful simply because people can convert between that coin and dollars and that coin and Bitcoin. So hopefully we'll achieve that market cap. We're trying to add the features to make that happen for sure.
Well, James, you've been very kind with your time here, and I know we got to come to a close, but given the what we've talked about, and there's a lot of people, like I said, are still a little bit unsure about Bitcoin and blockchain technologies. Of course, all this is based on blockchain technologies, but what I wanted you to share with our audience is, you've been in it for years now and even made your own coin. others that have been in this space. So what's your outlook as far as I'm not talking about private. We know things that go up and down, like stock market, coin market, but the technology, it's the blockchain technology, it's here to stay. But how much do you see it? Is it like the internet was in the 1990s, or is it going to be that big? Would it be a part of our lives in that way, or is it more of something smaller than the internet was in the 1990s?
Well, I think it has the potential to do that. I think that the technology is so groundbreaking and revolutionary that it could easily be like the internet today, where we don't realize how much we use it. Like I mentioned, credit card transactions, that goes over the internet. All of this, we use the internet all day. Not only, when we're using our phone to check, our email, right. We're using it all. When you buy gas, when you do anything, you're using the internet. And pretty soon, when you go in your house and as smart houses come online, I don't have that, but I know people who do. Pretty soon that'll be more pervasive, and you'll turn on your lights using the internet. But to me, blockchain has that potential to do it, and my theory is it's going to happen. You're going to get a loan, and at the bank, somebody will get a loan at the bank, and they won't realize that loan is totally being underwritten, escrowed, and all the different parts of the financial system that is typically employed now to give you a loan. I'm just using loans as an example. A lot of that will be handled on the blockchain. Maybe not every last piece soon, but a lot of it. And then the only thing that's going to slow it down is not that the technology is not capable of doing this, but there's just going to be some institutional resistance. There's people in the banking industry that make money escrowing loans that and all this stuff that's part of the loan process. They're going to be resistant to this coming on, and that's the only thing slowing it down. The computers are fast enough, the internet's fast enough, people are smart enough to develop the technology. The technology is powerful enough to replace all these features. It's just a matter of time, and how fast that process is totally dependent on existing institutions either adopting it or resisting it. But like anything else, when something comes along that's better, that it wins, and blockchain technology is better than a lot of the existing systems in our financial and the financial network.
Well, I think you just laid it out there in a good way. Just like over 100 years ago, people thought they keep making horse whips because the cars wouldn't catch on, but they put the horse whip people out of business. So it is interesting. We are living in times that we don't know exactly what the future is, but James, thank you for coming on Doc Holliday's Rock Splitting Politics to help better explain this world of blockchain technologies, and good luck with as you pursue your endeavors, and I hope you have continued success.
Thank you. I really enjoyed it.
Now, I hope you're better informed, educated about Bitcoin, blockchain technologies. You heard about his coin Stealth. And I just have to say that some people say, I'm going to run away from this, but don't. Learn more about it, and do what Brock Pierce said last month. Buy a little Bitcoin, buy $10 worth just to see how to do it. And then this is something that as a society, we're getting more and more into, so that's why we covered that. And now we'll get back to politics next week. Glad to have you listening to us, and we will see you then.
Thanks for joining us today, and remember to listen again next week for another edition of Doc Holliday's Rock Splitting Politics. You can order Ed's new book, Bedrock Truths, by clicking on the book cover right in front of you on the screen, or visit DocHolliday.org. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you again next week.